Hello, everybody. It's Friday and it's fire, as usual. Another volatile week in the box. But thank you all for coming. We're going to talk about some topics today that might be a little bit scary, but they need to be spoken about. We'll talk about the impact of fiat on certain things that are happening right now. We'll touch on the fourth turning. We have a new price target for Bitcoin and a timeline and confluence with my models, which is super interesting. I love when two different things say the same thing. And we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which we will do. And some people are still losing money and a new credit card. And let's get into the story. I want to thank T&D Tesla, KH, Sean Donnelly. And we have Sir Winston in there as well. Cypher Sniper, thank you all for coming. Let's get into it. And this is called Bitcoin Tumbles. And I tumble down to the bottom left corner of the chart. I should be top left. And I'll make sure I keep my way, keep out of the way as much as I can today. So let's get into it. And of course, not financial advice, as you know. And B-Man63, I love my Patreon membership. Thank you, B-Man, for being here as well for quite some time. Appreciate you and the team behind me. Market Fear and Greed, we are back, unfortunately, in the neutral zone. We went back to neutral and then spiked out of it for like a day or two. And then, of course, back to neutral. So this is all because of some markets being, being rattled by some of the situation going on, which we will not touch on because it just triggers too many people if you've mentioned it. But I'm just going to skirt around it. And hopefully I don't trigger anybody. And unfortunately, as well, little bit of bad news. James Wynn continues to lose. I know he was raising some money online where people could transfer him some USDC. Well, he probably took that and lost another $2 million. He was down to zero, and then easy come, easy go. So everybody, there's a lesson here. If you want to learn to invest, learn. Take the time to learn. Take the time to paper trade. Take the time to sharpen your skills before you start playing with real money. This guy's lost over 102 million, at least, in a very short number of weeks, which is sad to see. You can do so much good with all of that money, too. Anyway, before we get into the fourth turning news, I don't want to start on a sad note, but flip into some of the goodness as well. Thank you, Cardio. I see you out there. This is from Bitcoin Magazine Pro, and they had a model that they call the Delta Top Cap model. I'm going to take a couple of minutes on this just to kind of explain what it's about, because I like their stuff. The top cap model predicts Bitcoin's price by multiplying its average market cap by a number, magical number, called 35. Who likes the number 35? Let me know in comment below. That's interesting. So where did I put myself? There. I'm out of the way now. So again, they multiply the, if I get this right, the average market cap by 35. And it correctly predicted the 2017 peak, but was off a little bit for 2020 and 2021. But that was also a manipulated cycle. Now, this top cap model, again, that 35, is now forecasting a top price you can see here of $523,000, which I think we're not going to get to unless literally nation states start cutting each other's throats to buy Bitcoin. But that would be nice. No, of course, not cutting throats, but you know what I mean. Anyway, the Delta Top is more realistic, and it subtracts the average market cap from the realized cap based on the cost basis of all Bitcoin in circulation to estimate the peak. This model I like a lot. And it predicted 80K last cycle, although we only got to 69K, so not bad. And even if it's half right, it's good. And the terminal price model is the most accurate. It uses supply-adjusted coin days destroyed, or as I call CDD, and has closely matched the past peaks, including 64K, where we actually went above to 69K in 2021. And it was bang on in 2017. Now, I'd like to compare this model to the LILO model that we have, which predicts layers. And if we look at the LILO model, on layer 10, at the last point in which Bitcoin crossed through the 200-day moving average, and you set it, it takes us to $229,000. 229. Remember let me go back, refresh my mind so I don't misspeak. The Delta top is 225. The LILO model is 229, the top layer. Of course, the probability of getting to the top layer is small, maybe a 5 to 10% chance, but still possible nonetheless. And the other thing that's also interesting about these models is it also predicts how long the bear market would last based on traditional cycles if history repeats. And the delta top time would be 130 days from now, which would take us to the 21st of October, 2025, if history repeats. So it could be a pretty bonkers time if things happen. Basically, Bitcoin will double. Could Bitcoin double in 130 days? Well, it's done a lot more than that in the past. And with the craziness, I forgot to actually post one thing. I did post it in Patreon, but didn't hear. One of the top SBR countries now is Brazil. I'll jump in and just try to recount the story. They said they're very interested in making a 5% of Bitcoin strategic Bitcoin reserve, which would be about, I can't remember the exact number, calculates to about either 31 or $51 billion buy of Bitcoin. If that happens, we go straight above 150K very quickly. And that doesn't even take into account all the other nation states that will follow Brazil. So I forgot to include that in Fight a Fire, but check it out on Patreon. You'll see that post there. Anyway, let's get back to our story. There's so much to talk about this Friday. Delta top. Who believes 21st of October could be the top? Or could we just keep going up forever? Let me know. Now, more treasures enter the Pomp. This is from the Bitcoin historian, Pete. Thank you, Yunka. Pompliano is now going to lead a new company that will raise $750 million to buy Bitcoin. This is so crazy the way all of these treasury companies are popping up right now. And remember, Bitcoin's above 100 grand when they're all popping. Why didn't they do this at $15,000, a couple of years back at the bottom of the bear? That would have been excellent. Shout out to Michael Saylor, of course, who did just that. But more of these treasuries, like every day, a new one's popping up. And Pomp is very well connected to TradFi markets and other Bitcoiners, and he shouldn't have any problem raising that much money. But what happens, my concern is, if all these treasuries come so late to the game, as I mentioned, let's go back here. The top could be, if history repeats, 21st of October, 2025. You got all these treasuries FOMOing in with 130 days to go. I worry they are coming in too late and could become sellers, which could cause a nasty bear market. So it's double-edged sword, these treasury things. However, Michael Saylor will hold forever, and he is 80% of all the treasuries. So the rest are kind of crumbs in relation. Now, moving on as well, GameStop, they have decided to upsize their treasury buy by a big amount. The deal, I think, was initially $1 billion, then to $1.75 billion, and then $2.25 billion. And the company also granted buyers a 13-day option to purchase additional $500 million. And this sale will close in 4 days, June 17th. And they expect to raise at least $2.25 billion, or 2.57, whatever that is, adding that extra kicker on. And they'll use that to buy Bitcoin. Bonkers. And they did, I think it was late May, they disclosed they had just shy of 5,000 Bitcoin already, currently worth $500 million. So this will basically quintuple their gang. Des, long time no see, my friend. Good to see you out there. This is Des, everybody. See, I recognize everybody. I'm doing this, winging it, and watching all the comments. So thank you for coming, Des. Good to see you. Now, we'll see what else is next. But GameStop, I must say, though, it's still a zombie company. And a lot of companies believe, well, our core business is dying. Let's just follow the Michael Saylor playbook and pump our stock. Well, what's happening now? People are so jaded from all these treasuries that when they announce a big share issuance or convertible debt or whatever to buy Bitcoin, the stock price tanks. And that's just what happened with GameStop. It took a big dip. And if you look at the history of GameStop, of course, we had the crazy move back in early 2021. Remember the crazy days? We had the biggest short/gamma squeeze in the history of my lifetime happened, but it was only a matter of time before it mean revert to, a $10 stock. And it did just that. But now the 200-day moving average is very interesting to look at because it's not kind of following that very closely. And we'll see what happens, but I don't think Bitcoin will save the firm unless they buy an awful lot or unless the Reddit community pump it again. But remember, when you get that big mean reversion spike, get ready to short it. That's the way. And this is on top, by the way, of TMT or Trump Media Company. They upped their ante as well to buy an additional 10 billion of Bitcoin on top of the 2.3. So, all these companies looking to raise billions and billions and billions looking to buy Bitcoin. Is there enough to go around? And then if Brazil wants to buy, I'll estimate about 390,000 Bitcoin. Where is it all going to come from? That we don't know. But let's get back to other crazy things that are happening as well. Shout out to the Bitcoin bugs. No, sorry, did I say Bitcoin bugs? I meant gold bugs. Freudian slip right there. This is a public gold miner called Bluebird just announced that they will start to mine Bitcoin, and they're selling the gold that they mine to buy Bitcoin as well. Double whammy. Yet another version of a treasury. But it shows you that the gold miners are sick of the gold business and also want to pivot to Bitcoin. This could start a very interesting series of dominoes to fall in the space too. And more treasuries, but this one is a little bit different. And I'm not capping on ETH. I'm just sharing the news, everybody. And shout out to James Check as well on this one for bringing it to my attention. I don't look at ETH Treasuries, but he said it's worth noting that a handful of companies appear to be attempting the so-called Sailor strategy, Sailor playbook with crypto outside of Bitcoin. This is SharpLink. It's a gaming studio, I think. And they are trying the ETH Treasury playbook. And when they announced it, the stock took a 71.5% nosedive in after-hours trading in response. Who could have expected this is the big question. A lot of people are very hot on ETH. In fact, so hot, you won't believe this. ETH is mispriced digital oil that could hit $80,000 in a new report that argues. And this is... Oh my goodness, I feel bad. I forget the name of the person that wrote the report or the analyst, but they say Bitcoin's or Ethereum is going to 8,000 and then possibly after that 80,000. And that is when Ethereum becomes a global economic infrastructure, a civilizational infrastructure, and an asset that's used across geopolitical trade. And if you have a sense of that, then ETH could be much higher and heading to $80,000. Now, again, I'm not capping on ETH. I'm not an ETH hater, but it's far too slow, far too contrived, far too complicated to ever do any of that stuff. I don't see how a chain doesn't pull that off unless it hits 1 million TPS. We don't know what that could be, but let's look at some more data and find out what's going on. Let's check out this Sol versus the rest of crypto. Just transactions. Solana does 67, 68 times the number of transactions that Ethereum does. And it trades at a quarter of the market cap. But the good news is, and I want all boats to float, if this analyst is correct and ETH does go to $80,000, I can't imagine what Solana will be at. Anyway, that's just some data. And shout out to Cardano for participating. Yeah, they're doing a fraction of what they did in the last bull run. I think they have 18,000 daily active users now. And another good news for Europe. Sometimes the news out of Europe is not that good, but this one is good. And I don't know much about this lady, but Marine Le Pen proposes Bitcoin mining with the surplus nuclear power stations. They still have those in France, by the way. I remember even as a child driving through France, I would watch all the big cooling towers and didn't know what they were at the time, a long time ago. But France is still very much a nuclear country with a lot of excess energy. And now they want to use that surplus energy to mine Bitcoin, which is wonderful news. That could be great for Europe, but a lot of other European countries still struggle with their energy needs, especially with the rise of AI. They're going to need a lot more of that as we go forward. So shout out to our friends in Europe. And I'm going to just kind of skirt around this, but basically to go over what happened since approximately 20 hours ago. This is from, again, James Check, his chart. The reaction to missiles. Oil shoots up 12.4%. Gold shoots up 1.8%. You'd swear it went up 18%, the way the gold bugs were so excited. S&P 500 down 1.7%. Bitcoin down 2.3%. And crypto down 4.6%, excluding Bitcoin. So you can see here, per this, I always say Bitcoin loves a crisis. But what happens in the first, say, 24 to 72 hours, Bitcoin reacts like a risk on stock. It goes down with the stocks. And then people say, oh, hold on a second, hold on. Bitcoin actually is not a risk on, it's a risk off, and then it rebounds faster than gold and exceeds it, especially 10 days later and 25 to 30 days later as well. Watch this space. Bitcoin right now, as we speak, is 105,500. It was 108.4 yesterday when this news hit, fell all the way to 102 and change. And so that's a 6,000 fall, which isn't that bad, and it's recovering right now as well. A lot of things recovered today as well, including some of the tech stocks like Tesla and others. Now, what's also important, and this is a little bit of history here, is the market reaction to wars when they begin. And basically, what you can see here is some of the history going back to 1964 Vietnam. When the invasion happens, markets go up. Gulf War, 1991. I remember this. I was in the markets at the time. That's where I came up with this really weird expression, when rockets fly by. It's very crude. And again, wars are horrible. I'm very anti-war. But it's just how markets work. Afghanistan, 2001, that was kind of flat, but there might have been another macro going on. Iraq, 2003, straight up. Crimea War, 2014, straight up. And Ukraine shot straight up afterwards, but then went through some macro stuff with interest rates and everything else. But the point is, really getting to why this happens. Now, before we get into the point of why it happens and tying Bitcoin and crypto into fiat and how fiat actually likes a war, let's talk about this. This is, again, what's going on in the world. This is the fourth turning. I talk about it sometimes, but not that much because I don't want to depress people. But this is the old theory. It's a cyclical theory of history where societies undergo generational cycles every 80 to 100 years. And we're at one of those right now. And literally, the fourth turning is typically a period of crisis. I don't have a TV, but turn on your TV and watch it. You'll see major conflicts, societal upheaval, transformative change, which would be AI, institutional distrust, which is media, governments, etc., polarization between people, whether different sexes or backgrounds or whatever, a lot of crazy stuff. And also a collective urgency to resolve tensions, which also often runs in line with wars and revolutions. And here's a little quick table I drafted together of some of the history, all equivalent to fourth turnings. We had the current fourth turning right now, triggered off by Middle East conflicts and Russia-Ukraine war, the English Civil War, 1642 to 1694, American Revolution, 1773 to 1794, American Civil War, 1860 to 1865, and the Great Depression, World War II, 1929 to 1946. Remember, when especially there are recessions or depressions, that's a great time to trigger a war. You know why? Because war is attractive to the fiat system admins, because it gives them an excuse to print. Very important and very profound, and also very true. The printer is coming from Alan B. Watts. See the Bitcoin sign in there? That's there for a reason. Anyway, Getting back to the other news, Coinbase issues a credit card with up to 4% back in Bitcoin. And it's taking the world by storm. This could be very interesting. And a couple of people say, should I get one for my business and run all my business expenses through this credit card and get 4% back in Bitcoin? And I said, sounds like a good idea. Why not? Can't hurt. And other good news before we wrap this Friday fire is Tesla. Literally, China will now allow Tesla to use the local driving data. This change will explode Tesla FSD capability in China. Remember, Tesla FSD in China already runs, and that was without them using local driving data. That was them using synthesized data, and it was still almost completely flawless. I have no reports of any accidents happening whatsoever. But this is a big win for FSD and Tesla in the biggest car market on earth. And again, every day I talk to people and they say they don't believe FSD is real. I can tell you it's real. I can tell you there are driverless cars running around Austin, Texas right now. And let's wait another 9 days for that second launch, which should have happened on the 12th yesterday, but delayed due to unrest. And hopefully there is no unrest tomorrow. Fingers crossed there's peace on Saturday. And I want to finish with kind of, I call it meme du jour, but it really is more of an important lesson. And I've been thinking about this one for quite some time. In the world, you have three currencies. You have knowledge, you have time, and you have money. When you need one, you got to use the other two to get it. But remember, recognize that time, knowledge, and money are all scarce, and they can't be replaced. Time keeps moving forward. There's nothing you can do about that. And knowledge, you need to always keep up because it's changing so fast. And money must be earned again once spent. So use all of these wisely and do what's best to help you grow, stay financially secure, feel good, instead of wasting them on unimportant material items. Okay? Manage them well and have a balanced life and leading success, lasting success and happiness and everything else. So thank you all for coming, everybody. Hope you learned something new. Happy Friday. Thank you again to the mods in chat and Sean D and K8 and T&D Tesla. And I hope I didn't miss anybody. Bitcoin Broccoli is here too. Happy Friday, my friends. Take care. See you tomorrow.